so much for joining us today. We're doing live commentary, or not live, we're doing recorded commentary on the Beverly High School versus Concord Academy race that happened April 28th. With me today, hi, I'm Liz DeFiore. I'm the BevCam's Community Engagement Manager and Residence Sailing Expert. And with me today is Coach Chuck Twombly.
Yes.
And thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit more than that, or?
Let's see. I've been coaching the Beverly team for the last 2 years. Prior to that, they didn't have a team for 5 years. So we're getting it going again. And
so they're brand new to this space.
Oh, yes. Yeah. There was just one senior last year and one senior this year, and then bunches of sophomores this year and freshmen.
Do you remember how many people in maybe this race or just this season had not raced against other teams before?
Oh, probably about 15 kids out of the 24 on the team had not raced before.
Oh, man.
There's only 3 teams of 2 of Beverly teams that we'll be watching here. We race 3-team regattas, and Concord has 3 teams. And they're in the beginning stages here, waiting for the timer. It's a 3-minute start, and we can't really hear where they are in the starting sequence, but we will know when they start.
And typically, it's a 3-minute countdown, right?
Yes.
And that's usually done with tweets, like whistle tweets, I believe, when they're getting close to it. We had our drone positioned right above the starting line, and as you can see, the teams are going back and forth between that little whaler boat and that red pin that you can see to the right. It looks like that might have been the start.
No. That's just someone testing the start, testing to see which end of the line would be better to start at. They'll be going from here up to a mark that should be directly upwind, about 100 yards.
And can you talk a little bit about what that means, finding which end of the starting line is better to start?
Well, the starting committee should set up the line so they're perpendicular to the wind. But if they don't, then the one end would be more favored than the other because it might be closer to the wind, which would bring them closer to the mark.
And so as people are watching these videos, I definitely want to point out from the eye of the drone, I think this appears a little bit clearer than if you're on the dock over there at Jubilee, if you were watching. But you're going to see darker patches of the water and lighter patches of the water. We call those puffs and lulls. And the darker patches are going to be where more wind is. So the kids are definitely going to be aiming for where those darker patches of water are throughout the video.
That is the Jubilee Yacht Club behind the boats there across the channel. They've been so gracious to let the sailing team sail out of their yacht club for so many years, and we will be there on their docks from March through the beginning of May. And I want to thank the Jubilee Yacht Club so much.
Yeah, thank you. Especially, I know they had a big hand in getting this, these racers, their boats, and being able to race off of their shores. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into a sailboat race that happens just at the start. And Chuck was talking a little bit about which end of the line is going to be advantageous. It's about timing. It's about how much speed you cross the line with. It looks like everyone's gearing up for the start right now. You can see everybody is.
Yeah, it's probably only a few seconds left.
Yeah. And this is also so much fun. If you are a sailor, the start of the line, it gets really chaotic. It's worse sometimes than Boston at rush hour. And you can see a couple of people going over the line there at different angles. It looks like that was the official start.
So one boat is going off to the left. He's on starboard tack. These other boats that are coming at us are on port tacks. and this boat with the blue top on port fouled about 3 boats at the start.
Yes, yes. Did we see them do a circle?
No, we didn't, and it doesn't happen a lot in high school sailing, and there's no judges on the water. There are judges in college sailing, but not in high school, so it's pretty much police yourselves.
So for those of you watching at home, the boats with the blue and green sails are going to be from Concord Academy. The boats with pink and red sails are going to be from Beverly High School. So if you're looking for who to root for, you're rooting for Beverly. No, you're going to pay attention to the color of the sails. Here we see everybody is starting to tack up to that windward mark. In order to go upwind, you have to go back and forth since you can't sail straight into the wind. That would just get you stuck or going backwards if you're really talented. So we're going to be seeing them move back and forth. There's a whole bunch of strategy involved in this. And a lot of it has to do with not getting stuck behind other boats that are taking your wind.
There are rules, so we teach the kids the rules, we teach them how to sail, and we teach them tactics and strategy, how to deal with the competition. And it takes some time. There's a lot of information, but they love it. They even love it on the bad days.
And this was a beautiful day for racing. You can see those blue skies, and the water is super easy to tell where there's wind and where there isn't. You guys definitely had a couple of rough days this season. This was one of the beautiful ones.
Yes, it was. Yeah. So that boat just went around the first mark, and now they go on for about 30 or 40 yards to that other mark, and then they bear off and go downwind to the next mark.
Yes, so we see, I believe that's sailboat number 14, that green sail, followed by another Concord Academy number 4. And you can see their sails flaring out like that. We call that wing on wing, where you have your jib sail, that's the small one with the little window, off on one side, and your main sail off on the other. And you're trying to catch as much wind going downwind as possible. And when you're on a boat, this is always an interesting fun fact. You're actually going fastest when you're going downwind, even though it can feel like you're going the slowest.
Yeah, and you've also, because you're going with the wind, it feels like there's no wind. And then once you start going beside or upwind again, you realize that there is still wind. That power boat that's above them is the Beverly Harbor Master. He's been so gracious to be out there for every race, and that's the finish boat. So they'll go downwind, and then they'll go over a little bit, and then they'll go back upwind to the finish. Small, short races. We try to get in 4 to 5 races in one of our afternoon regattas. These kids came from Concord Academy, and it was about a 1-hour drive.
Yeah, so coming in, they've got a 2-hour round trip, and then they've got, 2 hours of racing time. It's quite an investment, and Beverly also goes to other locations to race as well, right?
Yes. This year, not so much. This year we had a lot of regattas at Beverly, but we go to Gloucester, we go to Manchester, Landmark School down in Manchester, and Salem came to us. Those schools also came to us that I just mentioned. And next year, it'll be a totally different schedule. But we had a lot of fun having the regattas at home. We have very good facilities. Concord sails on Lake Cochituate, and they don't have the facilities that we have, so they can't even have regattas at their home base. They can practice, but they have to carry the boats into the water and carry them out of the water and wade in and wade out. And we're fortunate to be able to go off of docks.
I do want to put some attention on the different environments that a lot of these teams are sailing at. The bay here in front of the Jubilee Yacht Club is gorgeous in that there's not a lot around that interferes with the direction of the wind, so you don't get as much random wind direction changing as, say, if you're sailing on a smaller lake and you've got a lot of land or buildings around. So it's definitely a gorgeous place to be sailing, and I got to commend the teams who are used to sailing in more difficult situations.
So this boat has just tacked, and they're heading towards the finish. It's called the ley line that they just found, which is an imaginary line that they're right now on port tack, and they're on the port tack ley line going into the finish. And they're pretty happy when they win races.
Yeah, we've got a great bird's eye view with the drone here as everybody's coming into the finish, and you can see the angles that everyone is on. It looks like a much closer race than maybe if you were watching from the shore.
I was on the Harbor Master's boat, the committee boat, with the coach for Concord, and she was pretty happy.
And there we saw the first green Concord boat has crossed the finish line. They've come in first, and it looks like the next two are going to be second and third. Chuck, could you explain a little bit about scoring?
Well, it's a total of the points scored, and the first one to 7 wins. So you'll have a first boat, second boat, that'll be 3 points, and then the third boat will be three more points. That would be 6. That's as many as they can get, and so it's not the first to 7, but it's the least to 7. If they went 1, 3, that's 4, and 5, then that would be 8, and it would be up to the other team to be better than that. And unfortunately, Beverly didn't win this race. But we're a young team, as I said, and next year we're expecting great things. So now they're going downwind to the finish. To the next start, and once they get down there, they'll start the 3-minute sequence again.
Yeah, there are only a few minutes in between each race. It's pretty much just going from the finish line back down to the start, and not a lot of waiting. They hear those whistles pretty soon after. So we've got race 2 coming up, and the drone is giving you a gorgeous picture. You can see the Dane Street Beach right there, and panning over Beverly as they're getting the next race set up. Here we are back on the starting line, slightly different angle this time. We had some brand new drone operators out there this year. Michelle Lopez, our content manager, and myself, Liz, your community engagement manager. We both flown the drone for the very first time for this sailing season. So you're gonna get a little bit of us learning in some of these shots, but in general, it was really cool getting to capture these, and for next season we're looking forward to being able to cover the season.
So this time we are on the drone from behind the starting line, and they're just starting right now the second race, and
is number 4 going to hit that mark?
It's a close start.
Oh goodness,
they just wiggled around it.
They did. Oh, but they didn't. I think they hit it.
They could be now.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So they're probably going to do a circle now, and so that they can go on racing.
There, yeah, you can see them getting ready for that. That's okay, number 4. It happens to the best of us.
So some of the boats went to the left and some to the right, and if you go to the left, you have to know that the current is over on the left, whether it's going in or coming out, depending upon whether the tide is coming in or the tide is going out. and I instruct my students to only sail with the tide. It gives you a little bit of a boost.
So at this time of day, which is after school, what is the tide current doing at this time of day?
I don't remember exactly. Each day it moves 1 hour further forward. So,
okay.
I can't see it on the water, so I can't see the boats going sideways either. So maybe it's sort of at a lull.
And we see that green sail way out, number 14, way out in front again. They did a really great job that whole day. I remember they did some really cool sailing. But it's definitely great that the Beverly team's been able to keep up having so much less experience in these regattas.
Their coach told me that one of their students lives in Asia and hasn't been home in over 2 years because of COVID.
Oh my goodness.
But loves to sail. Didn't know how to sail when he first started. And now I think he actually won a race this day.
Oh my God. What a story.
Yeah.
Here they are coming around the offset mark. Everyone's pretty close together, except for that number 4 boat that had to do a circle at the beginning. But it's nice that everyone's so, even number 4 caught right up.
I think that the people that were racing this day, number 1 was Kyla Perrin. She was our captain this year. And William Rolander, who was a freshman, he had a great season. His crew was Oliver Wagner, and I think it was Grace Earl with Alexa Felitra, and James Dickman is in one of the boats, and he had various crews, so I'm not sure who was with him that day. But Kelly Flannery was sailing with Kyla, and they had a very good season. Now, next year, our captains are James Dickman, Grace Earl, and Kelly Flannery. James will be a senior, and the 2 ladies will be juniors.
That's awesome. And how many girls roughly are on the sailing team?
About 18.
Out of the 20?
There's about 24 on the team.
Well, that's an amazing number. I know there's been a lot of effort to get more women into sailing, and it's really cool to see it encouraged so much at the high school level. How many of these kids have had sailing experience before coming onto the high school team?
Probably about 5 or 6. Yeah.
So almost none of them had.
Right. One of them's father is a sailor, and a couple of fathers are sailors, and then a couple are yacht club members, and then there's a couple that took Salem lessons, and now they're essentially camp counselors over there, and a couple are camp counselors at the Beverly sailing program, which is called Sandy Point Sailing, and it's a separate corporation run out of the Jubilee.
Are any of these kids involved in summer sailing programs? Is there anything that goes on during the summer?
Yeah, that's what Sail Salem does, and it's a great organization. It's provided sailing experience for almost free to hundreds of Salem residents, and the Sandy Point Sailing gives lessons to children as well as adults out of Jubilee, and it's a great program. I was actually in it when I was a kid. It wasn't as well organized, but that was a long time ago.
Oh, that's awesome. I was also in a junior sailing program when I was a kid in the Niagara Falls area, though. Great Lakes is where I got my sailing experience. But it was a lot more expensive then, and it's been really encouraging to see how many programs in the greater Boston area are either cheaper or near free to be able to get more people into sailing and getting rid of some of the cost ceiling.
Looks like is that the green boat that won again?
Yeah.
Yep. There's community boating in Boston. There's Courageous Sailing in Boston out of the Courageous Sailing Center.
Yeah, I was a member of community boating for a while when I moved to Boston. They are a fantastic organization.
Yes. Actually, Kyla Perrin has gone there for essentially using it as her summer camp for the last two summers. She takes the train in and just loves it, and now she's a counselor in there. I'm not sure she's doing that this summer, but she's going off to college in the fall. She may or may not.
That's wonderful. And in this race, we see Beverly took third.
Right. That's great. Yeah, we knocked off a lot of seconds and thirds and 1 or 2 wins this season. But as I said, the kids are young and they're learning. They're learning the whole program. None of them had really raced before last year, and the freshmen this year hadn't really raced either, at least not in dinghies. But I'm expecting good stuff next year.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it too. I'll probably be the one covering it again.
Yeah, hopefully you guys will come back and take some more pictures.
We will definitely be looking forward to it.
It's amazing how nice and calm this camera is.
I know, even on some of the windier days that we were down there, our drone's nickname is Drone Lovely, after Senator Joan Lovely.
Oh.
And it stayed really stable no matter what the weather was. So it was a lot easier to get this footage than even we had expected. So we're really looking forward to being able to do this to a larger extent. We're coming into race number 3.
Yes.
As everyone is coming around the starting line again. We're back to looking at it from in front of the starting line.
Looks like probably about a minute to go.
So what are some of the challenges you faced as a coach starting up a high school sailing program, basically from scratch?
Well, when I was hired, it was through a search that a person by the name of Paul Earle conducted, because his granddaughter was going to be on the team, or wanted to be on the team, and they hadn't had a team in 4 or 5 years because of lack of coaches and COVID. And so I went down and met with the athletic director and talked with him, and he hired me and said one thing: there's only 2 people that have signed up for this team.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, so how many do we need? And he said, well, probably a minimum of 10. And so then he told me where the boats were, and they were in storage at the airport. And I went up and looked at them, and they looked a little rough. They're about 15 or 20 years old. And then when we finally got them down to the Jubilee Yacht Club, the sails had holes in them.
Oh, no.
The boats, every single one of them leaked and had dents and broken fiberglass and whatnot. And, of course, not that many kids sailed before. So it was pretty interesting. And, of course, you don't want them to capsize. And when we start out in the end of March, it's kind of windy quite a lot. So try not to put them out sailing. So we had a lot of chalk talks, a lot of teaching and learning. Here comes the start. Was it start 3?
Yes.
That blue top boat is sitting on the line waiting to start, and the others are coming along with speed. Let's see if they pass him.
Yeah, it seemed like that boat might be trying to figure out which side of the line was favored by going close to irons and seeing.
Yeah, looks like he was over early because now he's going back again. It's too bad he was right there.
It was a good strategy. Slightly better execution next time, but
Yeah.
not a bad idea.
So this past...
We also see boat number 7, one of Beverly's, also had to go back and restart the line. We had a couple over earlies this time.
This past year, over the winter, we started a nonprofit organization called Beverly Sailing Association. Paul Earl and some other people put it together and raised money. And with the money that they raised, bought some new boats. So not brand new, but they're only 5 years old. A member at Jubilee worked at Boston College. He knew that the boats were for sale. So we bought 17 boats and then sold 5 of them. We're left with 12. We had no sales, so we ended up finding sales through National Collegiate Sailing Association's championship committee that had been used for, I think, 3 out of the last 4 years, with 1 year not sailing because of COVID. So they were like new. They'd only been used for like 2 weeks at a time.
That's incredible.
And so we had boats that were only 5 years old as opposed to 15 to 20, boats that didn't leak, and boats that had new sails. And so we got covers.
That's like a dream come true.
We bought covers with those, with some of the money. We outfitted the entire team with helmets, which is kind of unusual for high school sailing, but I felt very strongly that I didn't want any of these kids getting hit in the head by any of the booms or whatever. So helmets, and we offered partial scholarships to kids that needed it to be able to sail in the program, because the school charges a fee to be in the program. And then, of course, there's costs for wetsuits and,
and
life jackets.
If you go down to see any of these races in person, you get a good look at the kids, and they pretty much look like they're in uniforms, like racing uniforms. You got the Beverly logo on the back of some of their foul weather gear. For those of you who are not as familiar with sailing or any of the sailing terms, the metal rod that holds the bottom of the mainsail and swings back and forth is called the boom. And as per the use of helmets, it's called that for a reason.
So I was fortunate to have excellent assistant coaches. Allie Kramer used to sail on the team, and then she went to URI and sailed there. Pascal Miller, he's also involved in the Sandy Point program with on-water stuff, and Pat Pierce, another Jubilee member with a lot of sailing experience, and he took over a lot of the weight this year, because right at the beginning of the season I fell off of my powerboat in the yard at Jubilee when I was taking part of the cover off and hurt my back, so I was kind of laid up for about 4 weeks. I was coming to some practices and some regattas, but Pat was pretty much in charge. Thank you, Pat. He did a great job.
Oh, man. Usually we try and only fall off the boat when there's water underneath. That's usually the goal. Yeah. I'm so sorry, but we're glad to have you back.
So they're now going around their third mark. They've been upwind, 9 downwind. Beverly's
holding a second place for now. They've been doing a really good job this time. We see, although it's not, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to catch up to third place, but they've definitely been gaining some ground.
There were a few places that were changed in the final beat that they're on right now, going upwind to the finish line. I'm not sure if it happens this race, but it's always nice when that happens on the final beat. Someone catches up and finally achieves part of their goal.
Yeah, you never you can never call a race until it's pretty much almost over, and in some cases even then you have to go back and look at some things. Not so much with dinghy boats in this, but I know when you've got a bunch of larger yachts of different makes and models, there's time handicaps and everything to consider. But even with smaller boats like this, a lot can change with strategy and wind. You can see the camera shaking a little bit. I believe the wind was picking up in this afternoon.
There's that green boat in front
Yeah.
again. Speaking about the handicap boats, every Thursday night at Jubilee, people can see boats racing off of the Lighthouse Point, Hospital Point, or down by Endicott College along the side of the road. We always start our races down there, and this has been going on for over 40 years. Sometimes there'll be 50 or 60 boats out there, and it's just a pleasure to go out and do it. And it's also nice to just watch on from those places.
There we see the Concord Academy boat coming in first, and it's definitely close between that Beverly boat and the other Concord Academy one. I don't remember which one comes in next.
Looks like the red one's going to come in second place.
Yes, Beverly, go! I mean, I'm neutral. There we go, Beverly in second. Good job, guys. So is there a way that people, parents and families, friends, can support the Beverly High School sailing team, even if they're not in the area? Is there somewhere they can go to donate or help support in any other way?
They can either donate to Beverly Sailing Association, which has a website, which I don't have with me, of course.
That's all right. We can put it up on the screen at the end.
Or Beverly High School Sailing. Send a check to Beverly High School, and that will make it to the boosters. We're fortunate that we're in such great shape. When I explained our story to other teams' coaches, they were just in awe because everybody's pretty much scraping and scratching for money to have their programs, and so we're very, very, very fortunate.
It takes a lot of money to keep these boats up every year for the upkeep alone, and make sure that the kids are staying safe. And any amount helps, and it's a really incredible experience for the kids that's very unique to this area. There are a lot of school programs that either don't have the means to or the geography to have a program like this.
I've just parked over next to the storage bin where most of our gear is stored. And I put my hand on it. It was very hot in the shade part of it. So
no.
I hope everything doesn't just melt together this summer. It's so hot in there. It was hot the day that I filled it up. But, we've got great boats, great sails, great gear. And so we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to possibly having a fall intramural program out of the Jubilee. We're trying to work that out right now, work the kinks out. We've spoken to the AD, and I think he's given us his blessing, but it won't be a Beverly High School sailing event. It'll be a Beverly Sailing Association event, and whether there'll be any charge, whether we'll have any more coaches donating the time other than myself, I don't know. But we'll have a great program if it happens. If it doesn't happen, our kids can sail for free down in Gloucester. The Gloucester coach has a program all summer from 8 o'clock in the morning till 11:30 every morning, and I've got a couple of kids going down there that are going to do that. Also, we have the Sail Salem and Sandy Point Sailing, which is having a teenage racing program, which the Beverly Sailing Association has offered to help out anyone that needed 50% discount on their entry fee into that program, which is it's great.
Yeah, it's good to hear how much support is in the area. We just saw the beginning of our 4th race, and looks like Beverly had a pretty good start.
Yeah, they all seem to want to come this way now. It's probably more wind. When you're on the water, you can see ripples. It also looks like there's current going the other way. Let's see if that boat goes sideways a little bit when they tack. Yeah, they seem to be moving sideways. So there's definitely current flowing now, and that's something that the Beverly kids have had to deal with, and it's good training, because if they sailed in Boston on the Mystic River or in Charlestown, there's always a lot of current in there.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much down in Manchester, where we sail, or Gloucester, but as I tell the kids all the time, this is something you'll be able to do for the rest of your life. So it teaches them how to deal with current.
All around the world too.
Sure.
Absolutely. Sailing is the same no matter where you go, except for the geography. That's the only thing that's different. I can certainly attest to that, having moved from the Great Lakes to here. So we've got that. We started with that bird's eye view. I'm seeing the windward mark is to the right of all of these boats, and there we see them tacking to go in round that mark now. Beverly's looking like they're in a slightly better position, although the one with the red sails looks like they went a little too far out. Probably could have tacked in sooner.
Is that a Beverly boat, number 7?
Yes.
Oh, great. So once again, I'd like to thank the Beverly Sailing Association for being so helpful. Paul Earl, the chairman, his wife Grace Earl is the secretary, Dave Altman, Bill King, Jed Dickman, Pat Pierce, Allie Kramer. All these people have helped put it all together.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a link to them either in the description of the video or at the end. We'll make sure to include that, so that anybody who's interested in seeing more footage of the races, more coverage, and certainly their kids in better gear can go and see all the different ways to support. But it's equally as good for the visiting teams, because they borrow the home team's boats during these regattas. So when Beverly goes elsewhere, they're going to be borrowing whatever boats that location has, and so the Concord Academy kids were able to use Beverly's boats for these races.
This year, Salem had a team for the first time, and they came over to Beverly, and that was actually our only win of the season, but
I saw that race.
It was pretty good.
It was good, and that was a windy day too. If I'm remembering correctly, that was definitely one of the windier races that I had covered.
Schools like Swampscott don't have that much support and don't have that many kids, so they actually team up with Winthrop. So Winthrop and Swampscott are one team, which is interesting.
Oh, okay.
Marblehead has a team, but they're in a different league. We're a B team, and Marblehead's A team. St. John's Prep is an A team. And Manchester was an A team for many years, and then last year they came back to B. But we also sailed against Wayland, and which is kind of a long way off. And next year we hope to add a couple of other teams like Boston English, Boston Latin, and we'll see who else we can sail against.
Looks like Beverly is lining up to take possibly second and third in this race. They were able to pull ahead during the downwind leg, and if they can keep up their speed, then they will be able to stay ahead of those other two Concord boats. This number 6 one, the blue, I'm not sure. Looks like they're on a higher tack. I'll have to wait to see. Yeah, they're likely going to be crossing first. We don't want to give away the ending, Chuck.
No.
You and I know the ending, but the people at home don't. So make your bets now, folks.
The blue boat has found its ley line.
Yes.
They could have waited a little bit longer and waited till the Beverly boat tacked and then sat on top of the Beverly boat's wind and been in between the Beverly boat and the wind, but they didn't. And so now they've tacked. They've got one more tack.
Yeah,
to the
it looks
finish.
like they're not going to be able to cross the line just on that tack. Yep, there it is again. It looks like the wind had started to die down in the afternoon here.
Yeah.
So everyone's moving a little bit more slowly. That happens to me during the afternoon, too. So that's first for Concord, second for Beverly.
Yeah, it looks like Kyla's boat. I can see her light blue.
Oh, you have got way better
Dry
eyes
suit.
than I do.
Well, everybody else's is dark, and she has a light colored dry suit.
And looks like, yes, that'll be third place for Beverly.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, they did good in this one.
That might be our freshman.
Oh, and that might be, is that our first? Oh, that was a very close. If they didn't hit there, I will be surprised. Here we go, the last race of this day. They're typically around 5 races. And in between the third and fourth race, all of the boats come back to the dock. They switch up teams. It takes no time. We were getting ready with our drone, and the kids had sailed back to the dock and switched and gone back out before we had even realized what was happening.
Yeah, after a team has won 3 races, then that's considered the regatta. And so any races after that, we like to switch kids to give everybody a chance, to give everybody the opportunity to get out there and race. It's not just practice anymore.
Yeah, it's competitive. Obviously, you want to win, but you also are giving the other kids a chance to get that experience. So next time, we can have an even better chance of winning.
Personally, they learn a lot more in our practices because what we do is we get them out there and we do 1 minute starts rather than 3 minutes, so there's less waiting. And we'll do anywhere from 5 to 10 starts, and that's great practice. Then we'll have 3 or 4 short races where they just go up and go around one mark and then come back and then start another and start another and start another. And then after about half the practice, we'll switch off crews or skippers, depending upon who's available. Sometimes we bring them out on the committee boats with us. Sometimes we leave them on the dock and they sail in, switch, and come back out. And so in our practices, we get a lot of learning and boat technique and boat skills. And the more time in the boat, of course, the better. And then if it rains or it's bad weather, the next day we'll spend inside going over videos of college teams, videos of high school teams, how to do this, how to do that, and we'll go over the rules and we'll go over technique and the wind and weather and so we balance that in the spring with the bad weather. And then as the weather gets better and better, we spend less time indoors teaching. All right.
Looks like here's the start. That was a pretty good start for almost everybody, I would say.
Good close group.
Yeah, it is. And it's great to hear the learning program that you've set up with them, because as we were kind of talking about earlier, the start of a sailboat race can make or break a race in terms of strategy. So giving the kids that much experience is some of the most valuable if they want to continue racing.
Looks like 3 and 7 have gone off their Beverly boats, so they're in second and third. Mm-hmm. And then there's another Beverly boat over here on the left coming this way. If I remember correctly, that was Will Rollander, the freshman. He was wanting to give this side a chance.
Yeah, we definitely haven't talked a whole lot about why a boat might choose to break off from the pack. If everyone's going one way, why would they choose to kind of go it alone on a completely different track?
Well, here, boats may want to go towards us, towards the right, to avoid the current on the left. But it looks like maybe the current was going out because everybody that went left is way ahead.
Yes.
But also the wind doesn't just come from one direction. It shifts. There's more wind over on one side than the other. And the only way you can really tell is by experiencing it. But you can quite often see on the water, see those... there's more ripples over on the right here, up ahead of those boats. So they may have just gotten what's called a puff of wind. The last 3 boats look like they may be in a little bit less wind. You can see the wind lines there. Mm-hmm. And so champions learn how to read the wind. And
yeah, it's not just magic. I know it seems like that.
Yeah.
But we promise it's not magic.
We've had some great sailors come from Beverly. Some great sailors that were here before the sailing teams, but we'll have great sailors again.
Yeah, especially with a program like this in the high school. Start them when they're young.
Absolutely.
Look at them coming around that offset mark. They're doing a good job this race. This is looking up for Beverly if they can keep the lead. With a downwind leg, one of the things, you can see them all clumped up like that, and the people in the back have a bit of an advantage since the wind hits their sails first. So a lot can happen on a leg like this depending on how people are piled up.
Right. We try to teach the tactics of being between the boat in front of you and the wind. If the wind is behind you, you want to be right between them so that you can slow them down.
Yeah, and you can see that in practice. You can see how fast that green sailed boat is moving when they were previously way at the back.
So whether you're slowing them down just to pass them or whether you're slowing them down to let one of your teammates pass them, it really makes a difference. When you're going upwind, if you get in between the wind and the boat behind you, they definitely are uncomfortable and slow down, and so they often will tack and go the other way. Downwind, you don't have so much of a choice. There's only there's a straight line to the mark, and usually you're going straight to it. And this one looks like that they were going straight to the mark, so they didn't have too much choice to what's called jibe, which is the opposite of tacking is upwind and jibing is turning the boat downwind. But the green boat did very well. It looks like the boat that was in second and third, the red and the blue.
Are they going to be able to make this mark though? They've got overlap, but
yeah, they were too wide, and so they let the green boat in. Unfortunately.
Yes.
So
they did make it. They did not hit the mark.
7, our boat number 7 is winning. and their green boat is in second, and then the red boat is the Beverly boat. That's in third. We'll see if they can hold it. They're heading upwind for the final finish.
It's definitely going to be up to whether or not that number 6 blue boat ends up.
So blue has gone off on the left without anyone on their wind, but the 3 boat is sitting in the bad wind of the green boat. So they're probably going slower. They're sailing lower, and they're probably going to find that they gave up their lead over number 6. When number 6 tacked away, they should have tacked with them. That's called covering, and we constantly say to these kids, cover, 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 cover.
But it certainly takes a while to be able to put that into practice when you're out there. Learning how to read the ley lines, those imaginary angles in the wind, and how to know, where you need to be to cover. A lot of that it can only be learned through experience. It's not something you can, just study and get more experience with.
It's good that number 7
this is
covered.
Really close.
Yeah.
This would be a photo finish, and it looks like number 7 is over first. That's Beverly for first.
Yeah, they covered. They tacked
that
when
was
the green boat tacked rather than let them go away. So they got their first place. That's
good
wonderful.
job, team.
And
who is going to come in third? Come on, drone. Who was piloting this thing that day? It was me. There, it looks like it's going to be Concord.
Yep, 6 did it. 3 is realizing they should have covered. They'll hear their coaches' words in their ears when they're realizing that, oops, I gave that one away.
Yeah, it looks like this is the end of that day, and we've got our drone panning away. Thank you so much for joining me, Chuck. This was truly a great way to spend an afternoon with you.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for taking these pictures of the team, and hopefully all the kids will get to see them this summer, and a whole bunch of other people too. And anytime we have a regatta, people can come down and stand on the deck at the Jubilee and watch and cheer for the Beverly boats. That we let people know who's in the Beverly boats, and
or you can cheer for the other team too. That's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
We don't encourage it, but it's okay.